Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and welcome to another While You're Reforging. I apologize, this video is a little bit later. Last night my camera stopped working, so I spent most of the night and all morning trying to repair it. I had to basically uninstall a whole bunch of drivers and reinstall them, and it was kind of a mess. But anyway, I got it working, so I wanted to jump on this week because we've had some big things happen in the wargaming space. Two of them notably being Warhammer Plus launched, and a lot of folks have, in my comment section of various videos, asked for my opinion on that, so I'll be giving that today. And then also the FAQs, like this morning, like maybe like an hour and a half ago, something like that, dropped for the latest FAQs for AOS. Addressing some things and apparently ignoring a lot of others. So we're going to go ahead and talk about those things. And as always, this is my normal show where it's a little bit more casual, more hanging out. I see the chat's working. Brent asked how I'm doing. I'm doing good, man. I got my camera working again. I'm doing much better now than I was about 2 hours ago when I was stringing my life together with profanity, but we're good. Okay. Who's going to be the first person to mention ward saves? We're going to talk about that. So I'll be honest with you, when it comes to the FAQs, we're going to be learning together because this is the first time I've took a look at them. I mean, I have thoughts on the FAQs and why I don't really care about them. You'll figure out why in a minute. As for the normal segments of the show, basically how it works is I will open a segment, like say Hobby Progress. I'll go over what I've been working on and then invite you guys to just take a moment and share yours. Let me make some room here. Sorry, I got so busy being tech support Doug that I kind of failed at being painter Doug. Let me get my little light box here ready to go for us. Let's see. We'll go to the double pane and the downward cam. There we go. Sweet. Okay, we are cocked, locked, and ready to rock. So for Hobby Progress, basically I've done a few things. The first one being, as you guys may have seen, my Fallout Wasteland Warfare miniatures. I really enjoyed painting the core set, as well as I bought the Protectrons and Assaultrons box. And I really like those. Basically, I wanted an excuse to buy Fallout models because the game system looks so fun and it has an AI and a solo mode. We talked about this last week. But I finally got them all painted up, so I'm ready to start using those models for Fallout as well as Stargrave, which is another reason that I got them. And then beyond that, it's just been I worked on that big board. We all worked on that together last week on the live show. And beyond that, I haven't done a ton because it's just been a lot of family stuff. It's been so hot and humid here in eastern Iowa that I haven't been able to prime anything. We'll have intense rain and thunderstorms for about 40 minutes. And it just saturates the earth and then it goes right back to 90-degree weather. So you can't do a thing, including breathing, but whatever. So yeah, so we're back on it. Let's see. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Why are you doing this to me? Okay, there we go. Sorry, I got a little bundled into my software. Beyond that, I did actually want to show off something that was down there. I'm losing it today, y'all. I apologize. At my local grocery store, I saw these cars, and they're just die-cast metal cars. They're the kind that if you pull them back, they shoot forward. I'm going to use them for terrain for Fallout, as well as possibly vehicles to mod up for Gaslands, which is a game that I'm also interested in giving a whirl. So yeah, I got some cool little retro cars. Here's a little Texicab caddy. We got a cool, what is this? A Chevy Nomad, which is just the most old man car ever, and I love the way it looks so much. It probably has one of those things in the back with a hump in the middle of the back seat, and a classic old truck. So nothing special about those. I started unscrewing them to take them apart. I have the insides of this car somewhere else, but basically I'm just gonna pop open the doors and prime it from here. Yeah, that's basically all there is to it. Just want to have a very simple priming job. I'm also going to throw, I think, super glue a few magnets, inside, maybe on the doors, on the top, on the hood, so that whenever I am ready to start using the cars for Gaslands, I can just literally pop a magnet right on there. because the type of metal that these are doesn't do a thing with magnets as it is, but they're very thin, so I'm sure it'll work through the metal. But that's really all I've been working on. I was hoping to do more, paint tutorials and stuff, but unfortunately with the camera problem, it just didn't pan out. But I'm not going to lament on that because I got to hang out with you guys today. I got my camera working. Things are good. We're back in biz. So that's all I'm going to say on that. As far as, other hobby progress, just a lot of basing, nothing fun, just basing the Fallout minis and that kind of stuff. So I will turn it over to you. Let's see what you guys have been working on. We got, happy to see that handsome face again. Thank you, Brent. Those are perfect for the retro future setting of Fallout. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I know I showed off my, my Fallout 76 camp in a recent live stream, and right next to my camp, there's this exact style of truck, but it's like red in a ditch and it's like totally rusted all out. So that's exactly what I want to do. I want to recreate that exact truck from this. One thing that's interesting is that in this last week, the game company Modifius, who produces the Fallout Wasteland Warfare miniatures game that I want to get into, as well as the Skyrim miniatures game, they reached out to me and would love to support the channel. So I got a few goodies on the way so I can paint those up and start doing like battle reports and tutorials with them and that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of content for those games and those, I guess, universes, those, fictional universes, go ahead and let me know. Because honestly, I'm kind of falling in love with the Wasteland Warfare rule set, just from a strictly rules perspective. I like the way that their app integrates with everything. It automates so much of the clunkiness of it. And so, yeah. Anyway, Sean, good morning. Good morning, buddy. Moving into my next segment is games played. And I only played one this time. I met up with a gentleman and his brothers. I'm just going to call him Kay because I always forget to ask if I can use their real names. And Kay he wanted to do a matched play game, something where we could both learn the scenario ahead of time. I know he said before it's like his second game, like actual game of AOS, but he's watched like hundreds of hours of battle reports. And so we walked up to the table. We played a 1,000 point game. He had Soulblight Gravelords, and wasn't it Soulblight? I think, it had to be Soulblight because he had gravesite markers. I was like, for a split second, I was like, Nighthaunt? No. It was Soulblight Gravelords. Neferata was his general. He had a huge, I think it was a 20-man unit of Graveguard, some Skeleton Warriors, a Necromancer, Black Knights, that kind of stuff. And we played, oh man, now I forgot my book. We played the very simple mission where there's like an objective in your deployment zone, objective in your opponent's, and 2 on the center line, and yours is worth 1 point, the center ones are worth 2, and the highest one, your opponent's objective, is worth 4. Can't think of the name right now. I'm not going to stop the stream to go figure it out. But Savage Gains, is that it? Savage Gains. That just came to my brain. Anyway, I had a spectacular time. I'll be honest. That was the first non-matched play, the non-Path to Glory game of AOS 3.0 I've played. And that's going to become important when we talk about FAQs and stuff later on. The game went super smoothly. He did an incredible job with his forces. Essentially, I had my Chaos Army down. They were charging up the field. I would have had pictures, but again, all the tech trouble I had, I just skipped it. And just, Neferata is brutal. Neferata is so brutal. The one great thing that happened was I got Wind of Chaos off on a unit of 20 Skeleton Warriors, and it just tore through them like Taco Bell. Just, my goodness. So that was super fun. That was very satisfying. Beyond that, Chaos Warriors, I love them. I love them. They're such a pain to build into a list at 200 points. Like, it's just a big fat block of points, and it's a lot of wounds, and it's how I probably would have run them anyway. But man, is it a pain in the butt when you're list building like for a 1,000 point list. 2,000, I don't have any problem with it because there's enough wiggle room to kind of play around with heroes and stuff. But when it's just Chaos Warriors at 1,000 points, it's like 200 points is a lot. But beyond that, I've decided that knights with lances on the charge are the saddest thing in Warhammer history. I never rolled so many ones and twos in my life. And they were just disappointing me every single game so far as the knights that I have. I love the knight models, though, so I don't really care. I'm going to stick with them. Let me know what you guys have been playing lately. I ended up losing that game just purely on objectives because once it got to be... We had a great back and forth, but then on round 4... He just absolutely decimated me. By the end of the game, there was nothing but 2 knights left, and admittedly, they were in his back field, but they were not long for that world. Neferata was just sledgehammering anything she touched. So that was interesting to watch. I did take out the Grave Guard. I took out a lot of stuff actually. So it was cool. It was really cool. It was really nice to see the Soulblight Gravelords in person because I've only ever read about them online. We have I think 2 players locally that are building armies for them. My buddy Jeremy, my buddy Rob, and so they're a fun army to fight now. Like I hated playing against Legions of Nagash, but when I was playing against them this last week, I felt like I was doing damage. I felt like I was taking models off the table, my opponent's models, of course, and of course I was losing stuff too. But I don't know. It was just a fun experience. I would punch, he would punch, and we would go back and forth until he kind of ground me out by resurrecting some of his units, which I'm like, that's exactly what they should be. Not like I just plop here and don't die. So I like that quite a bit. Let's see. Christopher says, I've been on a painting sprint to get my Kingdom Death minis ready for an upcoming gaming weekend. Nice. Kingdom Death is a game. Some of the models I love, some of them I'm like, ooh, but I'm interested in the gameplay. I've only ever heard one review of it, and it wasn't great. But then everyone else loves them, mostly for the miniatures. So I'd love to know more about Kingdom Death. Been fun. Feel like I'm improving with each one. That's terrific. Isn't that great when you can do a bunch of different models like back to back and you can see your progress? That's the best. I ended up with a bunch of Wraithguard for 40k, so I'm painting those up. Was going for a bone color, but looks more army drab. Oh, okay. Which is kind of cool on them. Yeah, I bet that is. Especially just knowing that they're supposed to be these big, slow, lumbering things, like a drab color. I think it would just seem very... what's the word I'm looking for? Unstoppable. You know what I mean? Like if something just looks like a rock and you just have no chance of stopping it or hurting it, if it doesn't look like a person that you can shoot or whatever, I bet that looks real cool. And Sean said, I played and won my first game of Warcry. My Soulblight versus Gloomspite. That's actually a great matchup. I won't lie. Gloomspite is really tough. Like when Warcry first dropped, we were playing it at my local store back up in the Seattle area, and like our Gloomspite player Max, he could just kick teeth in because he had so many bodies and so many squigs. That's incredibly fun. So I think that being able to have cheap skeletons and a few heavy hitters is definitely the way to go in Warcry, and both Soulblight and Gloomspite can do that exceptionally well. So that's really cool. I'm juggling my converted Fellbats that need painting and theory crafting for the Path to Glory 3.0 system in 2.0 for me and my brother to play. Yeah, you're painting and theory crafting the Path to Glory 3.0 system into 2.0 for me and my brother. Okay, so you're trying to use the list building things to be able to, like, for the 2.0 Path to Glory list building in 3.0 format. I've seen people do that. I don't really care about it too much, but I just kind of like, what's that? 2.0 is over? To death with it. That whole section of every book is worthless. That's an overreaction. I'm not actually like that, but for me, I'm just more excited about what battle tomes are going to bring in the future. Are they going to come at all? Who knows? And we have, Ben Eatred, my buddy Ben from the Seattle area. Doug is live and I can watch and listen at work. Today is a good day. Happy Friday, buddy. So yeah, that's it for hobby progress, games played. I'm going to move into news and stuff because we have quite a bit to talk about. And honestly, that'll pretty much be the rest of the show today. I thought what I would do is get the non-GW stuff out of the way, the things that I wanted to mention for other games, and then we'll just focus on the FAQs and Warhammer Plus as a whole. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go to the shared screen here. And I only had this page up because this and the Fallout one, again, I wanted to mention, Modifius reached out to me and were kind enough to offer some materials to start playing Elder Scrolls, the Skyrim game, as well as Fallout Wasteland Warfare. I told them they already had the 2-player starter set, and just send me anything that you think would make that more fun. So, I'm actually very excited about it. It's a very crunchy game, and it looks like they're both based on the same system. You can see a lot of similarities with the tokens and stuff. Honestly, like they just have a very interesting way of communicating rules, almost like how Warcry uses like icons for everything, like symbols and icons and that kind of stuff. They do the same thing, but once you learn the language and just a few of the symbols, it all just clicks into place and becomes very streamlined. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It just kind of took a second for that to really register, but I get it now. So yeah, I can do tutorials for that as well. So I'll click out of those. As far as the Fallout stuff is actually more interesting than the Skyrim to me, because they actually have this incredible database of absolutely free material for building your own settlement, the AI mode. There's a cooperative mode, so like I can play a game with Jess, but it's Jess and I versus the computer, which sounds so stinking fun. Painting guides, that kind of stuff, and a whole bunch of scenarios. So there's a lot of cool things here for free, and honestly, I'm a sucker for any company that supports their game with free material. I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't take a whole lot to like thrill me when it comes to that. If you're selling miniatures and I buy them, especially the Fallout and Skyrim ones, because they're not cheap even by Games Workshop standards, but you buy them, and because they have these apps and because all the information is free and available to you, you actually, I feel, get more value out of them with Modifius than say buying a singular model for $30 from GW. Just the amount of free material and stuff around it, I do think it's a great deal. Let's see. Doug, can you contrast the two games, Fallout and Skyrim? I can when I receive them. I don't know anything about the Skyrim game, but they wanted to lump them in together, which makes sense. I mean, especially if they're based on the same mechanical system, but I'm more than happy to do a contrast. I'm going to do a review of them each independently, and then probably do a contrast video explaining the differences between them. From the mechanic side of things, it doesn't look like they are vastly different. They use a few different dice, but the symbols and how you roll them seem to be very similar in terms of special effects and things like that. So Brent, I absolutely will once I receive my copies. So that's it. Going back to our news here, we have Conquest. Now, Conquest is a game that I'm going to be talking about a lot this week for two reasons. One, there's nothing happening in Age of Sigmar. Sorry to break that to you guys. There's just not a lot. There's no books coming out. There's no models coming out. It's just we're in chill zone. But that's fortuitous because this week on the 1st, this coming week on the 1st, Parabellum is releasing their 1.5 edition for Conquest. So they designed this game. They didn't crowdfund it. They just designed it themselves and built a small playtest team and sold the game and grew the company from the ground up, which is almost unheard of anymore. And the whole time they were trying to do balancing with points and that kind of stuff. And then this last year, very aggressively, they were taking a lot of feedback from their playtesting group, from dedicated fans, now that tournaments are starting up and the game is getting bigger and bigger. And so they've compiled that and created what they call the 1.5 edition. Now, a lot of cool things coming out with this. Not only, the 1.5 edition thing, it just clarifies and rewrites some of the special abilities and that kind of thing. It just kind of, again, tunes up the game. It's not a whole overhaul. But that does mean it's a wonderful opportunity for new players to jump in anytime there's a change, new edition, whatever. But in addition to that, They also have D-Meep. I saw that. I saw your comment. I love it. Yeah, even on the day where the FAQ drops, I'm going to say nothing. Anyway, so on Conquest, each of the armies that's available will also be getting a set of sub-faction rules. So the way it's listed right now is, there's, I think, 5 armies, right? Woodrune, 100 Kingdoms, Nords, Spire, Dweghome. I can't think of another one that's out right now, unless I'm just a dingus. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it, but let's say 5, for example. Each one of these has 3 sub-factions in the lore that don't have rules yet. And it was basically, at the time, to just kind of like act as a stopgap. Like, hey, we want to expand into this later, but we're not going to overwhelm ourselves with balance issues. And also, this is how you can create thematic forces, right? If you take a sub-faction, that kind of thing. That's all it really was. Now they're at the point where they're ready to give them all special rules. When the Woodrune were released, they are an army that had built-in special rules, and now that's just being shared with everybody. They're all going to have stuff that's very flavorful. I got a chance to take a sneak peek. Can't tell you about it, but I think you're going to like it a lot for all of the players. They're very, like, for example, the Spire, which is an army that I have. You can kind of lean into sort of like the sovereign thing where he wants to be in control and have the best technology, or you can lean into like the flesh crafter side of things and have all kinds of monsters with you. Like, they're very flavorful and thematic, and they play like they should. So that's really all that matters to me there. So like I said, it's 1.5 release this coming week. Don't miss it. It's a great time to just jump into a new game whenever a new edition launches. The more you talk about Conquest, the more I'm interested, but I don't think my brain can handle learning another rule set, let alone making themed terrain for another game. Well, I mean, the nice thing is the terrain would be exactly the same. You would just use less Warhammer terrain, right? If you just did like any kind of fantasy terrain, you just use a little bit less of it. As far as the rule set goes, I can't help you there. If some people are just one game dudes, or in your case, like 1,000 games, but just a couple war games. And then there's a lot of folks, on the channel who they just really appreciate Games Workshop as intellectual property. It's about Warhammer. It's not about miniature wargaming in general. That's totally fine. So Jack's that way. My buddy Jack from Rerolling Ones. And so with all of that news out of the way, we're going to start to talk about some Warhammer Plus. Now, I want to get this out of the way first because the FAQs, I'm going to be kind of like looking at them in real time. And we'll just kind of go through that later. So as far as Warhammer Plus goes, I'm not going to watch anything with you guys for fear of demonetization, but we are going to just take a look at what is existing right now. We got a few animations. What do we got? Hammer and Bolter, Angels of Death. Oh, these are just trailers. Okay, well, how long have I been live? Like 25 minutes, something like that. Beyond that, we have 2 battle reports and a master class and a full learn to play series. So I snagged this because, yeah, Jack is a super Warhammer shill. Absolutely. Lives and dies for it. So here, okay. Honest takes on Warhammer Plus. It launched without an AOS app, right? The whole thing about like you pay this one subscription and you get access to the Warhammer 40k and the AOS app. Not having AOS, real bummer at launch time, but I understand I would rather have them take their time and make an app that works than just release it, in a dire state, like the 40k one did. What's the price on Warhammer Plus? It is, I have it right here, $5.99 a month US or $60 a year. And that's the thing, $60 is not a high expense. That's actually, I think, very reasonable, provided that you get enough content. Again, you're paying for, at this point, the AOS app that doesn't exist. And then when it comes to the shows, I really thought that they were going to have more on day one. I won't lie to you. I'm a little bit bummed about that. I was really, sorry about that. I was really bummed to hear that they didn't have more shows than this. Why does everyone say honest take? Is the assumption that your takes are naturally dishonest? Yeah. Most of my comments are like, why the F would I listen to you, Doug? You're a stupid Warhammer shill. Yeah, I get accused of dishonesty. Only when I frickin' breathe. Okay. I appreciate the sincerity of your question, though. I just like to preface things that this is not related to shilling content. This is my personal opinion as Doug, not 2+ tough. Oh, that was a good laugh. Yeah, I expected more stuff to be, certainly more battle reports. We have 2 here. I didn't actually see how many masterclasses. For some reason, I thought there was more than 1. I did watch it. I will say that, like, once she has a ton of tutorials and that kind of thing online, Luis, who does the masterclass series, is my favorite painting instructor. The way that she explains things and goes into detail. I mentioned another channel, I think it was like the Painting Witch or something like that. Very similar reasons of just very calmly and naturally going through, why do these highlights catch light differently? You know, how do you build up color? Very, very, I don't know, just a natural behind the camera and a very good instructor specifically because, you know, I love Peachy. I love Duncan. I'm blanking right now. I can see his face. Is it Nick? The other gentleman? Yeah, Nick Baton. They all do great, but, you know, teaching versus a scripted, you know, tutorial thing, it's different. And so I feel like she does a great job as a teacher. The other ones do great jobs as presenters. And they're slightly different skill sets. The fact that 3 of the 5 available animations are trailers is a bit disappointing. Luis is my favorite Citadel painter too. Her Rainbow Zinch is amazing. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, oh my god. And then a whole bunch of like learn to play series, but I feel like if you have spent $60 or $6 on a subscription, you probably know how to play, right? You're probably already invested and you know what's going on. And then the painting series is already on YouTube. And so it's just like, okay. So on the Warhammer TV side, I was a bit disappointed, if I'm honest with you. I wonder how helpful those learn to play are. Well, someone already made a complaint about the AOS one because you literally see this Hobgrot in the background. They move him from end to end rather than front to front. So like he starts his movement at the front and then they move him toward this top right corner and they measure to the back of the base, which is not how you measure in Games Workshop games. But it's really stinking funny. That's all I know about it. I haven't watched all the tutorials. But yeah. So anyway, when it comes to the Warhammer TV side, I was a bit disappointed by the immediate available content. I also wish that there was a singular Warhammer Plus app so that I could listen to this stuff while I'm doing things. Like I would absolutely, boot up, a gameplay thing where they're playing 40K or AOS and just listen to them as they are explaining what's going on. You know, the battle reports, they're top-down view, which is not my favorite. To me, the best view that I see is when you're on a tripod from a person's perspective as if you, the gamer, were there watching it. I don't really like handheld a ton. It depends on the person doing it. If they sway a lot and I get seasick, not a fan of it. I like it a lot on a tripod or some form of mount, whether it's a gimbal or whatever. So the top-down thing, I'm like, but they do a lot of great, like, cool effects and overlays and that kind of stuff, so you always kind of know what's going on in the game. I thought that was pretty well done. So I'm interested to see more. I would love for them to try and explore new ways of filming things. But for what it is, day one, I'm happy with it. I wish there was more. Honestly, with how quickly you can bang out games of Warcry, I don't know why there's not like 6 games of Warcry right here ready for you, but whatever. Let's go back here. Now, the biggest thing to me in terms of draw was the Warhammer Vault. If you don't know, the Warhammer Vault is essentially, they have made PDF versions of a ton of their publications. Going back pretty much to 2015 is what I can see some of the oldest stuff being, with some of the White Dwarf visions, and when they launched Age of Sigmar, you know, the darkest times in Games Workshop history, when they were the most out of touch with people. You know, the visions thing was just like a weekly catalog of what to buy. It was just pictures. There was a few articles here and there, and then Age of Sigmar just wasn't received at launch very well, since it has been very greatly adopted. But yeah, so it looks like we have it jumps from issue, what, the most recent one is 459, is that right? It looks like it, yeah. Yeah, okay. And then it's just a whole bunch of the visions. I can't, for some reason, my web browser today is being a little funky and not letting me sign in to the Vault specifically, because it makes you sign into all these pages individually, which is really frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. The video one works fine. I was like, cool. But yeah, Sloth Man, I was on the fence before, but after seeing this, I'm still on the fence. The UI isn't bad right now because there's not a lot of content, but once there is, it's going to be cumbersome. I would agree with you. But I think that is an issue that certainly the Black Library site already has, and a few other Games Workshop things, is like they have so much content, but they don't index it well so that people can find it. So like if you go to the Black Library website and you're looking for a book, it can actually be quite hard to find a specific novel because they have novels and short stories. It's like, well, some books are a little bit ambiguous as to which one they are, and they don't show you all the available titles. They're not split up by factions included or anything like that. So I do think, oh wait, my hobby letter was published in White Dwarf 457, and now I'm immortalized in the Vault. Heck yeah, dude. Let me see. I'm gonna write that down. 457 will... Sweet, I'm gonna check that out. That's really cool. I like knowing anybody that gets stuff. Honestly, I have this dream of doing something that contributes to the Warhammer hobby, meaning, you know, like Chuck from Strength Hammer, you know, he created his character Tay Rathi and built this whole lore behind her, and then she got inducted into the Daughters of Cain book. Obviously, your letter being printed in a White Dwarf. I want something like that, where it's like, yay, I contributed to the greater Warhammer ecosphere. So congrats to you, buddy. I will go ahead and check that out. So we're going to go ahead and move on to... That's pretty much all I had for, honestly, for Warhammer Plus. I'm here. I'm here for it because they did give you a free model, you know, for signing up for a year. I did go with the Orc. I don't play war clans or anything like that, but you know, I know that the Calexis Assassin, or whatever he is, the Assassin, is a very specific model. Like even within the context of all of 40k. So I was like, well, I might not use the War Boss, but I sure as hell ain't using that Assassin. So, you know, just kind of went with my gut on that one. Let's go ahead and throw up the FAQs. You're already a Warhammer hero. Stop being greedy. No, I want all of the sunshine on me all the time. I am on camera. Okay, so we're here taking a look at the FAQs. What I'm going to say here, does anybody have a specific one that they would like to start out with? Because I'm gonna while you're typing in the ones that you think you want to see, I'm gonna say this. This is the preface I wanted to make earlier. I have now played over 25 games of Age of Sigmar 3.0 between various people between Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, and Des Moines. Okay. I have played one game so far that is not Path to Glory, meaning the rest of it's all narrative play. In that time, I have encountered a whole quantity of zero problems. From the fundamental stuff, As far as like terrain and people's list having problems and things like that, I have not had a single ounce of trouble with the game. I have played it. I have enjoyed it. The only bad experience I had was self-induced, I guess, because I gave a crappy demo to my buddy Steve. But that's it. Like every game, I feel like either I or my opponent, whoever lost, had a chance to win if we had played differently. Between my first AOS game when I was trying to reach the other side of the board and I spread my army too thin, he just picked me off, versus, Steve, we mentioned the last Path of Glory game. I think he just didn't hop on the objectives fast enough, like that kind of stuff, where it's like totally reasonable to say that the game is working fantastic and it's just, I need to get better at it. That being said, I woke up this morning and I'm part of a AOS creator chat with a few other channels. I won't name drop because I don't need to, but I also don't know if they want to be mentioned. And they were like, their heads were on fire. Like they were like one of those flagellant guys who has like the brazier built into his hat, because there were apparently a whole bunch of terribly, terribly egregious FAQ problems. Either they didn't address things that players needed, or they just made the wrong choices in their perception. And I guess I've never felt so out of the loop with Age of Sigmar. Like I was there since day one, been doing this channel for like 5 years now. And it was just astounding to me. I was like, what are you guys talking about, man? Like everything's going fine. I'm having a great time. My opponents are having a great time. We're playing Path of Glory. We're building some cool ass bases. We've got some sweet armies coming along. We got multiple new players picking up the game. Like things are crushing right now. Why are we so mad? And it's because I think when I lived in the Seattle area, there was a tournament scene. And there is not one here. Okay. Eastern Iowa is a dead zone for AOS tournaments. Not for AOS in general, for tournaments. I want to put that out there. So my experience being mostly relegated to narrative play, which is my favorite, has meant that I've had a much better time apparently than many other people. So when I was a little bit startled this morning when I was like, the roof was on fire and everything was about to collapse, and I'm like, but things are going fine. And I just didn't understand that there were a lot of matched play balance issues, because they don't affect me, and I'm happier for it. So I don't really quite know what to go with there in terms of like explaining that. But, if nothing else, I'm sincere in saying I'm having a wonderful time with Age of Sigmar. Nothing I've seen in the FAQs, in the brief moments that I checked out before I started the show, made me raise any alarms. I know there's something to do with Sylvaneth and how their terrain work that is vital to their army. We can check that out. But in terms of like you as the viewer seeing content creators react and take hot takes and call things dumpster fires and hot shit and all this kind of stuff, just remember that people are having fun. I'm having a blast. My opponents are having a blast. We hang out. We have good games. We roll dice. We laugh and we go home. Like, so no matter what happens, no matter what hot takes or who you follow or whatever, just remember it's cool. It's fine. Things are fine. And we can have a ton of fun regardless. That is my little rant personally. Let's see. So the real reason you left Seattle comes to light. You didn't want to be shot off the board by my 50 Sentinels turn one. No. No, you could have just told me you were going to do that, Jack, and I just would have saved my time and, not put any models on the table in the first place. Let's see. I'm just going to pause here and just read the chat because I did put in a request for you guys to shout out your armies you wanted. So Doug, when can we expect the 2+ tough monthly subscription service? Oh wait, that's Patreon. If only I could hear about your Patreon. Oh, thank you so much. I do have a lot of plans for my Patreon. I was going to do this week a whole bunch of like painting videos for it and put them up first and then later on YouTube. And then I had camera problems up until about 5 minutes before I hit the record button for this. So, that is going to be coming, I promise. But yeah. Doug Plus, stay tuned. We got, see, a bunch of coins topped in. Okay, we're going to start with Night Haunt because Donnie Rongo said so. So let's do that. And then we're going to do Khorne next because I saw a few requests for that. Are these in any form of order? There we go. Battletome Night Haunt. Okay. Oh my god, there's a short. That's... They didn't get anything. Wait a minute. There were no changes. What? Were there? What? Aren't they usually in magenta if they're... Hey, the Briar Queen became a wizard. That's cool. Spell lores, delete the sentence under the header. Lord of the Underworlds. In addition to until your next hero phase, the strike last effect applies to that unit. That's a great way of clarifying that. The soul cage is a cool thing. Don't use the Path of Glory system in your book. Buy the new things that we're going to sell you in question mark amount of time. Yeah, I don't think there's really much here. My favorite one that I've seen, and this is before this particular FAQ, was that the Black Coach becomes a totem. And totems are huge because they can project an ability to, or an aura around them to use commands and that kind of stuff. And its base is just huge. So that is actually a really cool thing for the Black Coach. So there's not a lot going on with Night Haunt that I'm seeing. Yeah, updated last in July. Is that what it was? Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's stick to the ones that are a bit more recent here. So that starts... Okay, starts at Tomarkin's Horde. Okay, so we have our Forge World ones. Warhammer Legends. Okay. And then a few after that. So let's check out Khorne. That was one that was suggested. If I can find it. Here we go, Blades Khorne. So let's check out some of these rage moments here. Coalition units, I'm going to start there because that's, to me, honestly, the most interesting thing as a Slaves to Darkness player. Coalition units do not count towards the number of battle line units in your army. However, they do count towards the number of Behemoth, Artillery Leader, whatever. Coalition units cannot be generals. In addition, coalition units are ignored when determining if your units are from a single faction. I don't know what changed that made it magenta, but that's the same kind of concept that I knew before. Maybe they just cleaned up the wording a bit. Let's see. The Legions of Chaos rule states that 2 in every 4 units in the army can be a coalition unit from the Slaves to Darkness faction that has the Mark of Chaos keyword. Can I include units from Slaves to Darkness faction that already have the relevant Chaos God keyword, Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch, for my army, but do not have the Mark of Chaos keyword as a coalition unit? Can someone tell me of a Slaves to Darkness unit that has the Khorne keyword but not Mark of Chaos? The only thing I can think of is Slaughter Brute. Right? But I mean, the Slaughter Brute's already in the Khorne book anyway. Why would you do that? Interesting. Okay. I don't really know. I can't think of a single freaking thing. I mean, I guess that works for, what is it called? The Gaunt Summoner in Tzeentch. Maybe they just copy pasted it and applied it to all units that could do Slaves to Darkness stuff. Because Slaves to Darkness have the Gaunt Summoner on disc, but only the Disciples of Tzeentch have the Gaunt Summoner on foot, which is the dumbest crap ever. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I feel like that's the first 2 I read. I'm just like, okay. At the start of the combat phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 8 inches of the bear. On a 4-up, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. That sounds baller. I don't know what they changed it from, but that sounds straight sexy. Page 77. Delete all rules on this page. Yeah, I mean, they just wanted to clean up because they have a new way of how endless prayers work or whatever. Okay, so the Khorne one I feel like is pretty pretty mild. I mean, the Banner of Wrath sounds really cool. Let's see. Thank you so much, Renato. The new Forge World Khorne Demon Prince and Nurgle Demon Prince are units that cannot be taken as coalition. That makes perfect sense because it's Forge World and doesn't work. Hey-o! No, it makes perfect sense because, yeah, they would have the Mark of Chaos. They would have a keyword for a Chaos God, but not necessarily the Mark of Chaos. I'll have to look at their War Scrolls. That's an interesting one. Do they have the Eye of the Gods? That's kind of the thing that I'm looking at. Like, why would a Demon Prince not have the Mark of Chaos? That's a weird one. It's a weird one that, like, they can't include it. But if they have the Khorne keyword, they don't need to be a coalition unit, right? They just, I guess it's by army book now, right? So what do you do with those guys, right? Because I mean, I guess they can be Slaves to Darkness stuff. They just already have a mark selected. That's really annoying. I don't know. That's kind of a mind-bendy, perplexy one. I see Davis MMA threw in $5. Thank you so much, buddy. That means the world to me. Jack, Warhammer Heroes don't bring 50 Sentinels. Make the tears flow. I love it. Oh, man. Correct. They're taken as Khorne, not a coalition. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's all I got for Khorne. Let's see what else we got. Oh, I see a few things saying, Jack, that's gross. Creator chat overreact over a miniatures game? How unlike them. Grown men concerned about their toys. Let's see. I'm just looking at my chat here. Hey, Doug, you still looking for a game? Yeah, I'm happy to anytime. I believe we reached out on Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm so aloof. It's pretty bad. It's disheartening and frustrating to see people and channels who are dedicated to talking about something they hate. Right. Let me just say this as a preface before we go into more FAQs. I often tell people, if you don't like Age of Sigmar, go do something else. And the problem is that is received as me saying, if you don't like it, get out, right? Which is a really crappy way to address somebody's concerns. But what I mean by that is, frankly, there's a lot of other different kinds of games, better designed games with smarter companies behind them in terms of how they set expectations and commune with their customer base and that kind of stuff. Like, Games Workshop is awesome. I love Games Workshop. But if it's not your jam, there's a lot of competition. Go out there, explore something else. Your life is too short to waste ruminating on something you don't like. That's all. That is my personal opinion. So if I do drop the go do something else, it's not because I don't care about you. It's because I do care about you. It's because I want you to enjoy what you do. Doug's OnlyFans when? Well, they just got rid of porn, so unfortunately, never. No, that was my one thing. Doug, how do you feel about the new Horrors War Scroll in the Tzeentch FAQ? Okay, let's go take a look at that. That's a great tip-off. Thank you so much, Will. Let's go. So they have a whole new War Scroll? Oh, sweet mother of God. That's an essay. Okay, let's do this. Let's get on our thinking caps. Let's see. So we have Horrors of Tzeentch. It's 1 profile, movement 5, 1 wound, 10 bravery, and a 6-up save. Interesting. When you pick this unit to be part of your battlefield, or when you add this unit to your army during a battle, you must decide if this unit will have either the Split and Split Again ability or Petty Vengeance ability. It cannot have both. Okay, so let's see what that does. Split and Split Again. Each time an iridescent horror or pink horror in this unit is slain by a wound or a mortal wound, it does not count as having been slain, but you must immediately remove it from play and replace it with 2 blue horrors that are added to this unit. What is an iridescent horror like the leader? Okay, I'll figure that out in a second. Each time a blue horror in this unit is slain by a wound or a mortal wound, it does not count as having been slain, but you must immediately replace it with a brimstone horror. Okay. Adding and removing horrors. Oh my god. Replacement models that are added to this unit must be set up one at a time within 1 inch of the position that was occupied by the model they're replacing. Replacement units that are added to this unit can only be set up within 3 inches of an enemy unit if it was already there. That makes perfect sense. Replacement models added to this unit cannot take it. Can take it above its maximum size. Okay, and then the other option. I mean, that's a stellar rule, right? You just. What's interesting to me is that it doesn't. They're not slain, right? Because there are so many rules that proc off of slain models. So that's a very interesting thing. I mean, I would imagine in my mind they would still count as being slain, but they get replaced with something else. So that's real interesting. But the other option, if you don't want to multiply, is Petty Vengeance. If a model in this unit is slain, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit and roll a dice. If the roll is equal to or greater than the Petty Vengeance roll for the slain model, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Okay. Now again, this is if when you pick the model to be a part of your army, or you set it up during battle. I don't like that. I don't like that because you now have to be on your opponent when they set up a new unit of pink horrors, right? They summoned or something like that, to be like, what is it? Which does it have? Because if you let it get into combat and then they'd be like, oh yeah, it has the multiply thing, you'd be like, horse crap. Oh man. Okay. Horrors. Each model in a Horrors of Tzeentch unit must either be a pink horror, a blue horror, or a brimstone horror. You cannot allocate wounds or mortal wounds to a blue horror if it includes any iridescent or pink horrors, and you cannot allocate a wound to a brimstone horror. Okay, so you always assign it to the highest ranking horror in the unit. Now, what I'm not seeing here, what is an iridescent horror? What am I missing? You're out of the loop, Doug. The adult content is back. Oh, man. Well, then. You guys are having sausage for breakfast every day. Hey-o. What's an iridescent horror? The champion. Okay. But doesn't it... Oh, okay. 1 pink horror in this unit can be an iridescent horror instead. Okay. I kept looking for it. I just wasn't seeing it. Thank you so much. And then... that's true. They are not wizards anymore. That is, I think, quite good. So essentially at this point, I'm looking at a unit that you pick them and you have to choose which horror is which when you start, but you can mix and match, and you either get one of 2 abilities. Split and split again if you own the models. And yeah, just as Jack said, I think it's a way to sell the kit even if you don't have to buy everything. This way you don't have to buy a box of pinks and the brimstone and blue horror box for every unit of pinks that you own. So that's pretty cool. And then the option to not do that is Petty Vengeance. So what is that? So you do, if the roll is equal to or greater than the Petty Vengeance roll, enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. That's not bad, honestly, because what if you have the standard pink horrors with a 6-up save running in the battle? Well, I guess they get 3 shots with their flames, right? That's cool. Okay. I'm down for it. They're growing on me. I mean, my thing is, honestly, when it comes to this unit, I think the biggest negative I can throw on it is that is just a lot to digest. But ultimately, it is pretty simple now that I think about it. So you have a unit of 10. Let's just start with pink horrors. We choose one of them to be iridescent. And if we go with the Petty Vengeance, it's really simple. They just have a specific stat line, and they get that many shots, attacks, and then when they die, they get to hurt somebody nearby. But if you go with the split and split again, when one of them dies, you can allocate some blues and brimstones. But I like the inclusion that you cannot add more blues until all the pinks are gone. You can't add more brimstones until all the blues are gone. Like, it does have a very built-in, like, cascading effect where you always have to hit the big guy with the best stat line first. So I like that. That's kind of interesting. So there's a limit on how much they can actually return. No more pinks coming back. Yeah. Right, because you're muscled into choosing something that's lesser than. That's interesting. Cool. I mean, I like it. You know, I think it changes the unit dramatically, and as a result, the army. And getting rid of the wizard keyword is quite possibly the biggest change, but I still like them because they present a very unique challenge to opponents. You know what I mean? Like, it's still an immense amount of work to clear out a full 10-man squad of pink horrors if they have the what is it called? Split and split again ability. Yeah, I think it's cool. I like it. It makes them more of like a base infantry than like the magic powerhouse that they were. Okay, I'm down with that one. What else did they get? Same coalition thing. Replace the war scroll with the new one. Okay, and then they have Legions of Chaos, basically explaining how Slaves to Darkness and Beasts of Chaos function in their army. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the same coalition things that they had in the Khorne one. The standard bearer change is also big. 1 in every 10 pink horrors, I like that they specified pink, in this unit can be a pink horror icon bearer instead. At the start of the hero phase, if you have a Disciples of Tzeentch army, roll 1 dice for each pink horror icon bearer in this unit. For each 3-up, you receive 1 fate point. That's fantastic, right? I like that because they were giving you fate points before by summoning things, or casting spells rather. And now it's just like, hey, you lose that utility. You're just not a wizard. Kind of reined it in a smidge. I like that. 1 in every 10 pink horrors in this unit can be a pink horror hornblower. Add 1 to save rolls for this unit while it includes any pink horror. And that makes sense. That makes sense to attach all the cool stuff to pink horrors because they have to be the first ones to receive damage. And then it would kind of cycle down from there. Yeah. I dig it, y'all. This is cool. Horrors that flee cannot split and split again. I like that. If a horror splits and splits again, it is immediately removed from play, and their replacement models are added to the unit before the next wound or mortal wound is allocated to the unit. So it's like, it's all like simultaneous. That's interesting. A horror that is removed from play because it has split and split again does not count as a slain model for the purposes of battle shock rules. Does not count as a model, and it cannot be returned through the use of rules that allow you to return slain models to units. Man, they're good. Like, I like it. Are people mad about this? I don't know. I'm looking at this. I'm like, I mean, they gave up being a wizard, but they were janky wizards anyway. Let's be honest. I mean, they weren't like the best. They didn't have a ton of buffs. They're a powerhouse infantry unit that if you have the models for, they can do a lot of objective holding. If you don't, that you can just suicide bomb them with Petty Vengeance and that's it. I like that. And they can still contribute to your fate points. That didn't change. So I'm down with it. What else we got? Who else wants to check out something else? Let's see. Champion. I feel like I'm scrolling back up to make sure. I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. Let's see. Champion. I feel like I'm scrolling back up to make sure. I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too many comments here, y'all. 'Cause I'm trying not to miss too I feel like some people misinterpret negative comments incorrectly. You see it as, why are you here? I see it as, I love this game, here's what's wrong. And that's totally fair. And there's definitely room for saying, hey guys, there's something wrong with the game. It's different when you have an entire YouTube channel dedicated to crapping all over Games Workshop, but you still make money off of it. That's what I would say. Having concerns and opinions is nothing wrong, but let's see. Let's check out the Beasts of Chaos. They are near and dear to my heart. They didn't get a ton. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, wrong way. Ungor Raiders, Bang Anger. Change rule to add 1 to wound rolls for shooting attack made by this unit while it has 10 or more models. Okay, that's rad. Ungor Raiders could always use more attacks. They're just so tiny. Dragon Ogre's description. Add the following. Elite. Models in this unit can issue commands to their own unit. That's a wonderful change. I'm going to be honest. I love that. I think any big fat, 2-man model, something like that, for like the Maggotkin, Puscoil Blightlords, that kind of stuff, I think definitely should have that. Let's see. Ogre Ma tribes we got a request for. Let's see. Theirs is also pretty short. Relics of the Everwinter, the Rime Shroud. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons that target the bearer. I don't know what it was before, but that sounds really cool. And I think that's it. They didn't get any changes beyond that, so rad. Okay. I mean, hey. I don't know what it was before, but that seems pretty straightforward. So if it was any more complicated, they certainly streamlined it. Let's take a look at Maggotkin, my boys. So we have the same coalition things. I'm not going to reread those. That's it, it looks like. That's the only change from the last FAQ, which I'm sure is important because of that Nurgle Demon Prince we mentioned earlier. Let's see. What else do we... I'm not even going to worry about the War Clans one because supposedly they have a book coming out. Slaves to Darkness. This is my boy. Eye of Ed Sheeran. Once per battle at the start of your hero phase, you can say that Archaon will use the Eye of Sheeran. If you do so, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attack that target this unit until your next hero phase. Ha! That's a big change, right? I think it is. Andrew, you nailed it. I think we were expecting some massive changes, but there just isn't much but errata. I would agree with that. Hey, the Varanguard are elite. That's a 3-man unit. They can all give themselves commands. That's cool. Ooh. Add the Mark of Chaos keyword to the Slaughter Brute and the Mutalith Vortex Beast. That is nice. I'm thinking about what that means for me personally. Yeah, the horrors are a big change for sure. Let's talk about Sylvaneth. They were the ones I heard the most gnashing of teeth regarding. Okay. Is an Awakened Wildwood considered to be a Wildwood? Yes. Okay. I feel like that's like saying, are these canned mushrooms? Yes. They're just in a can. Winterleaf, Branch Blizzard. Okay, that's just their sub-faction rule. I got that. There was something else about... Aha, here it is, about the Wildwood. Let's see. Abilities that allow you to add Awakened Wildwood terrain features to the battlefield will tell you how to set them up. In addition, they must be set up more than 3 inches from all models, objectives, other terrain features, endless spells, and invocations. This faction terrain feature consists of 1 to 3 scenery pieces. If an awakened wildwood has more than one scenery piece, each piece must be set up touching all of the other pieces to form a circle with an area of open ground inside the circle. Okay. The area of open ground inside is considered to be part of the awakened wildwood terrain feature. Just pause there. Has to be set up more than 3 inches from any models, objectives, terrain features, endless spells, and invocations. So where can you put it? Like, I mean, just looking at some of the tables that they use, like in their own battle reports and stuff, that's not a lot of real estate. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I remember one games day that me and Jack went to where there was this dude actually, it was Matt, who recently won a tournament with Sylvaneth, obviously before this dropped. And he had this huge, 9 wildwood ring that just went around his massive circle on a table, and all of us were like, what the hell is that? It was pretty cool. Overgrown Wilderness. It is only possible to see a few yards into these foreboding thickets. Visibility from units with the Sylvaneth keyword is not blocked by this terrain feature. That makes sense. At the end of a charge phase, roll a dice for each unit that does not have the Sylvaneth keyword that is within 1 inch of any terrain feature with this scenery rule. Add 2 to the roll if it's any wizards or endless spells are within 6 inches of any of those terrain features. On a 6-up, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't... So pre-game, correct me if I'm wrong. Again, it's been so long since I've read the Sylvaneth book, so please forgive my ignorance. You like other factions, you get a free 1 when you start the game, right? Before everything really starts, before turn 1, you get a free wildwood. And then this concerns abilities allow that you to add a wildwood terrain feature, which there are, if I'm not mistaken, a few. There's at least 2 or 3, right? Interesting. That's okay. Here's the thing. I'm not saying Sylvaneth are a bad army. They just won an event. They beat Jack, right? I don't know. Actually, I don't know if Jack, did you play against him? Anyway. So they have a lot of potential because the Wildwoods can block line of sight. They can kind of control shooting armies, and it's a very big deal lately. But at the same time, I have said before, I'm not really a huge fan of any faction that's dependent on terrain. I don't want terrain to be interwoven to the core of an army's rules. Because the terrain feature isn't what I'm excited for. The dudes shooting each other and stabbing each other and all that crap, that's what I'm here for, not the trees themselves. That's a weird one. I'm not going to lie to you. You would obviously get your free tree in the beginning, I believe. And that one you probably have the most chance to place because there's no models in the middle of the board. There's no endless spells, that kind of thing. I don't really get that one. But then again, I don't think they've ever really known what they wanted to do with Sylvaneth, if I'm honest. Okay. Sylvaneth don't beat me, fool. Well, that's why I asked, because I didn't know if it was a matter of ranking or if it was a matter of he did beat you. I didn't know. Who else are we looking at? I wonder what the Fire Slayers are up to. And the Gits. Those are 2 armies that interest me. Let's look for some OnlyFans inspiration here with the Fire Slayers, little naked boys. Magmic Invocations, delete all the rules. Yep, because now you're using the standard prayer rules. And that's all they got. That makes perfect sense. Oh, Gloomspike Gits. The bad mood makes me sad. Like the rules for it, rather. It just doesn't have the same impact or grip as I feel like it should. But that's just me. And is that pretty much... Oh, here we go. After this unit has made a normal move, run or retreat, pick 1 enemy unit and roll a dice for each model in this unit that passed across a model from that unit. For each 4-up, it suffers a mortal wound. That's just cleaning up language. Okay. Yeah, they did change the bad moon here. Is that where it starts? Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Let's see what else there is. Does anybody know of any other bigger changes? Like, I know there's a lot of little ones. I mean, honestly, this is just tweaking things. Those are probably big changes to the fly high rule. What do we got? If I use the fly high ability to disengage with a unit, can that unit still shoot or charge later in the same turn? It can still shoot as per the disengage ability, but it cannot charge. I think that sounds fair. Can an endless spell that was cast with spell in the bottle enhancement be controlled by the bearer? No. I think that that's also very thematic and fair. I mean, they're not a wizard casting it. They're not wielding the magic. They just opened a bottle and dumped it onto the battlefield. That's kind of fun. Can I use the fly high ability instead of making a normal move that is granted by an effect? For example, could I use fly high ability to move instead of moving with the scent tracking battalion ability from Pitched Battles 2021, or the there's always a breeze if you look for it? Yes to both questions. That's huge, because that allows you to disengage at different points in different phases. I like that. They're dodgy now. Okay, I dig it. If a unit with the flying transport rule is in the battle regiment core battalion, can other units from the same battalion be set up inside of it? Yes. Okay. That makes perfect sense, right? Why wouldn't you hop? If you buy a bus and you buy the team to go in it, why can't you put the team in the bus? Yeah, there's just some other tiny things. Let's see, coalition units. Who can they have in their coalition? Do not count towards. Hold on a second. I'm just looking up here. And it just clarifies. Hitcher seems to be a rule that needed a lot of clarifications. Okay, here we go. 1 in every 4 units in a Barak Thring army can be a coalition unit. See below, from Cities of Sigmar or Fireslayer factions that has the Dwarden keyword. Okay, so it's just Barak Thring can take other dwarves. That is, to me, the best. The biggest change is in the core rules. Let's go check that out. No, that's Stormcast. Here we go. Core rules. Okay. We are hunting for changes. Let's see. Hero phase. Question 7.0 in the rules. In addition, in your hero phase, you can use friendly wizards to attempt to cast spells, and both attempt to dispel endless spells. But in 19.3.2 states, at the start of the hero phase, each player can attempt to dispel one endless spell. Can you clarify which takes precedent? This latter, you can always try to unbind stuff. I feel like it's good that they cleaned it up. I'm not going to berate the person for asking the question. And I like that they have reference numbers to be able to help clarify things, but that felt a bit more intuitive, but whatever. If a unit receives the redeploy command, can they also receive the unleash hell? Nope. Can a unit finish a move halfway or up the side of a wall? Yes. I don't like that. I wish they wouldn't do that. I don't like wobbly model syndrome because it just creates a whole bunch of weird situations for players. And it's like, if you can't land there, don't land there. I don't know what to tell you. Can a unit jump down from a terrain feature if the distance to the battlefield is greater than the unit's move characteristic? No. So now you've created a state where they can be halfway up a wall, but not really, because obviously your model can't stand there, and then also halfway down a wall because the model isn't there and it can't stand there. That seems very non-intuitive to me, but whatever. If an ability allows a unit to receive a command without the command being issued and without command points being spent, does the restriction that you cannot use the same command ability more than once apply? Yes. I think that's good. The less stacking, the better. Shooting phase. If a unit receives the redeploy command, can it also... Okay, it's the same thing. They just copied it in the different phase section. That's cool. 10.0 states, you make shooting attacks with each model in the unit until you have shot with all the models you want to. But 3.1 states you must pick the target unit or units for all of the attacks that will be made by the models in the unit. Can you clarify which takes precedent? Of course, it's the one that gives you the more freedom and control to shoot who you want. That, again, that's another one where it's like, it's good that they technically clarified it, but it was already very intuitive. Now, wards, when I first started this chat, literally the second comment by Gary P, I just scrolled up, buddy, said, who's going to talk about wards first? So let's dive into this here. Question. In section 14.3 of the core rules, ward rolls are made to negate a wound or mortal wound before, and that's bolded, it is allocated to a model. However, many units in the game have abilities that trigger when a wound or mortal wound is allocated to a friendly model. Can I use abilities that negate allocated wounds or mortal wounds after a ward roll? Yes. Okay, let me think about that. That needs to sit for a second. So if you have a ward save, it prevents the wound from being allocated. If you have something that says when a wound is allocated, roll to see if it goes away, those are two different triggers. I'm going to be honest and say that I do not like that, not because of, like a thematic dissonance problem, like it doesn't seem right or whatever. It just seems too wordy for me. Like it's the kind of thing that like someone would be able to like out-lawyer you with at an event, and that is just never a fun experience, regardless of whether or not they're right. It's not fun when someone's like, actually, and then basically breaks down, the massive differences between wards and abilities that are functionally the same as wards, but not quite. Okay. Interesting. That's an interesting decision that they made, and I didn't expect that. I mean, I'm sure like many of us, I just kind of rolled those together. So all the feel no pain stuff. Yes. So Nurgle got a buff. And now in addition to that, some older abilities give bodyguard effects, such as Guardians on the Venari Blade Lords or War Scrolls, or Selfless Protectors on the Saurus Guard Warrior Scroll, that allow damage to be allocated to a friendly unit, to a friendly hero to be allocated to a different friendly unit. Can I use abilities like this before or after I make ward rolls for that hero? No. These bodyguard abilities are used instead of making a ward roll for a wound or a mortal wound to be allocated to that hero. Okay, so they toned it down enough to where you can't stack, a feel no pain with a ward with a bodyguard. So let's just count our blessings there. Many people don't like it. Just make it all ward saves. I would agree. I think a much cleaner and more accessible is kind of the only word I can think of, where it's just like it's intuitive is probably a better word, would be to instead say anything that can prevent a wound after it's been allocated after a save roll is a ward. Like I think that Disgustingly Resilient is a ward save. The Frost Phoenix thing is a ward save. I wish that they had clarified that, because now we have these very like esoteric tiers of different kinds of saves, and again, we're now reintroducing more rolls to the game, right? Because now you have to roll for your save roll, now you have to roll for your ward save, and then your ability on top of that, when the whole point of getting rid of so many reroll bonuses for units across the entire game was to cut down on rolling dice. Interesting. I mean, I need to learn that, because like I said, we do have a few Soulblight Gravelords players. It's a lot of death, and then a lot of Stormcast. So it's mostly just the death folks. And me, for my Slaves to Darkness, because I do have the War Shrine, which projects a bubble of ward saves, and I have a few things that give me a save after that. So it's good in terms of like gameplay, but it's something I need to learn, the rules for as far as deathless minions and that kind of thing. I don't like it. I don't like it not because I think it's like unfair or unbalanced or it's a problem. I just think it creates needless rules loitering, right? Like you can't just intuitively read a thing and be like, oh yeah, I know what that does. Shoot from the hip, like I was doing earlier with the Pink Horror War scroll when I butchered how to read it. Interesting. Okay, so we'll move on from there, but that I understand the confusion and unsavoriness of that. What happens if a model making a pile-in move is equally distant from 2 enemy units at the start of the move? It must finish the pile-in and move no further from each of those units than when it was at the start of the... Yeah, okay, so if you're in combat, you just got to pile in towards... Yeah. Got to be at least as far away as you were before. Some factions can add terrain features to their army after the battle begins. Do the game terms faction terrain and faction terrain feature refer to all terrain features with faction terrain war scroll, even those that are added to your army? Yes, of course it does. What else would it be? Andrew asked, did they change Legion of Asgore? We'll check that one out next. I know they got updated. I don't know what they did with it, so we'll check that out in just a sec. Yes, of course, placement. This is, there's some of these that you're just like, why would you even ask that? It's so obvious. When a priest attempts to summon an invocation, does that count towards the number of prayers the priest can chant? Yes. Okay, that makes sense. It wasn't always that way, but I understand. If you can't set them up, models removed from play. Question 21.1 states, at the end of the charge phase, each player can carry out 1 monstrous rampage from the table below with each friendly monster. If I have a unit that is a monster that has more than 1 model, can I use a monstrous rampage with each model from that unit? Yes. Can someone tell me a unit where you can take multiples that all have the monster keyword? Can someone tell me a unit that has the monster keyword? And why don't I own that army? When I say a unit, I mean like, multiples. You can reinforce them, essentially, is what I'm saying. Giants, man crushers. Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah, I guess that's true. They do come in pairs now, don't they? Okay. Right on. I'm on board. I forgot they came in pairs. I don't know why. I just totally skipped my mind. Just some clarifications around contesting objectives. Do things that increase the range of a caster spell also apply to the distance at which an endless spell can be set up from the caster? Yes. Holy hell, that's awesome. That is a great, really cool change that I personally like. I'm looking at playing the Kabbalists' Slaves to Darkness, where they can like do their ritual to manipulate endless spells. So I was looking at having up to 3 endless spells, like your max. And so that's a cool thing. Looking for things that increase my range. Oh, that'd be so rad. How the keywords work. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Path to Glory from the core book. In Path to Glory, if a unit on my order of battle includes a model that is a wizard, but the rest of the models in that unit are not wizards, for example, the Steedmaster and a Venari Dawnrider's unit, does that unit count towards my order of battle limit for wizards? No. That's a wonderful clarification. I could see that being an absolute pain in the butt. Especially specifically for the Lumineth to try and play in Path to Glory. Can I take the same core battalion more than once in my army? Yes. Nice. Oh yeah, and they added mount traits. They forgot to include that. Okay, cool. Well, not a big fan of the ward save thing, but core rules, I feel like they did a pretty good job. Now I feel like I saw the Legions of Asgore somewhere. Sylvaneth, Monstrous Arcanum. Yeah, there we go. Legions of Asgore. They did get an update today. As to what they got, I do not know. Okay. Oh, this is like their whole battle tome. Updated June of 2021. It looks like they just got a points update, Andrew. I don't see anything really directly interesting when it comes to... I mean, they still have their War Scroll battalions that are now thematic, but I don't see anything changing really outside of the points and probably the allies chart. So they can ally with Blades of Corn, Tzeentch, Nurgle, Heed Knights of Slaanesh, and Sleeves to Darkness. But no Beast of Chaos. Can we check out the Monstrous Arcanum? Sure. This might be a similar thing. Let's see what we got. Basilisk, Brood Horror, Carmine Dragon. Now, okay, so these things are all in Legends now. Interesting. Did they do that with... Oh, okay. You know what? I figured out what the changes were. Tomarkin's Horde, Monstrous Arcanum, and Legions of Asgore are all now Warhammer Legends, so I assume it's probably fair to say those lines are being sunset in some capacity. Warhammer Legends also applies now to Grand Alliance Order, Destruction. I mean, they've always had models that were cut earlier, but okay. Warhammer Legends Endless Spells. I'm just kind of curious now. It's just the Balewind. Fair enough. Yeah, interesting that they put those all in Legends. I don't really care about Stormcast or Warclans just because I know they're getting new books soon. And like, why are they still updating Broken Realms things? Oh, just to change how Coalition stuff works. That makes sense. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. Did they change the Rogue Idol? Ooh, good call. Was that one in their book? Oh, well, they didn't have a single change. I'm not sure why it shows them as being updated this time, but let's take a look. I hope not. The Rogue Idol is one of my favorite models. Yep, it shows it there, buddy. Sorry, Jack. Rogue Idol, Auric War Clans. And so it is in... Looks like it's in Legends now. Oh, no, wait. It's not. No. Hold on. So I'm sorry. There's two different Monstrous Arcanums. There's the Legends version, and then there's the up-to-date version. The up-to-date version has the Rogue Idol, so it is still in the game. I apologize. They made these things look absolutely identical. But yeah, he's still there. He's still just being rad, doing what he do. What do they got? They got the Bone Grinder, Gargant, Colossal Squig, Dreadsaurian, Bloodthirster, Great Unclean One, Corn Demon Prince. You know, all their various super chaos demons, whatever. Warp Gnaw, Vermin Lord. Yeah, okay. So I mean, a lot of the stuff that we actually see is still there, and that's pretty cool. So I apologize earlier if when we talked about the Arcanum, I looked at the wrong one, but these units are all still available. Looks like they have points back here. It's 430. Oh, 430 for the Rogue Idol. Herf. No Warhammer Legends, Bretonnia, or Tomb Kings. Oh, man, that's been gone for a while. Still rerolling ones on the charge. Let's see. Has a 5-up ward save at the end of the combat phase. Roll a die for each model. Nah. I'm not seeing the re-rolling one to charge. If this model is slain before, so it wouldn't be that. He does damage when he's killed anyone nearby. Add 1 to casting rolls for friendly orc wizards while they're within 6 inches. In addition, add 1 to the bravery characteristic and 18 inches. Has a 5-up ward save. At the end of the combat phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches. On a 4-up, they suffer a mortal wound. And add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this model if it made a charge move on the same turn. So I don't see anything about rerolling 1s on the charge. Oh, this is cool, though. They gave him the Cruel Boys keyword. And he's a totem. Oh, I like that. The Rogue Idol, I think he won. I mean, I think he came out pretty good. So he's got all the relevant keywords. He's a totem. I like it. I killed 4 Dracoth Knights with him in a single round of combat last night. Sick! I could see it. Yeah, and they updated him really well. Let's see, what was the other one I wanted to see? Yeah, the Bone Grinder Mega Gargant. He got all his keywords too, Sons of Behemoth, that kind of stuff. And they gave him some mercenary rules. Right on. I like it. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do now, honestly, is kind of bring this stream to a close simply because, you know, you're going to see a lot of people online with much more opinions and hot takes about the competitive state of Age of Sigmar, and that's just not really my jam. So if you're interested in those kinds of things, I do encourage you to go check them all out. I just say, remember not to let anyone dampen your joy on the game or the hobby. That's all. Just, it's fine, you know. The stuff that needs to be addressed, they'll address it. In the meantime, just work with your local guys. Don't get lost in the internet rage. Just whatever your local group is, just ask them how to interpret stuff. And don't forget that the best rule in all of Warhammer is if you disagree with your opponent, roll a die. That's it. So anyway, friends, I'm going to go ahead and hop off for the day and get to working on some more content for the week. It's going to be a big week for Conquest just because it is their release of 1.5 rules, but I do have some AOS stuff for you this week as well. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching and listening, and I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming to all of you and your family.